Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. This video is going to be a little bit different, but before we continue, if you've not subscribed, please subscribe. When you watch the video, just give a comment. If you want to know anything, just put it down in the comment section. We'll read it and we'll see what we can do about it. So moving on. This video is just going to be a little bit of education for especially young people. I get asked a lot of questions about how to get onto the property ladder, how do I get my first home, how much do I need to save to be able to get my first home, all those questions about first home ownership. So I just feel like doing a video to educate my friends, all of you guys that are going to watch this video, just to help you out. Maybe some of the tips may be helpful to you, so just stay tuned. So let's get rolling. The first, so I'm going to just talk about affordable schemes or some sort of affordable options or easier ways to get onto the property ladder, and that is what I'm going to talk about in this video. And maybe in my subsequent videos I might go into specifics into each of the options, but this video I'm just going to lay them out, give you some simple explanation as to how they work, and then we'll be able to maybe explain it later in further videos. So the first option I'm going to talk about is the most popular one most people are aware of. It is the help to buy equity loan. So the help to buy equity loan scheme is basically an affordable option that the government created just to help people with a lower deposit to get onto the property ladder. So let me give you an example. Ordinarily or normally, if you wanted to get a mortgage, the bank would expect that you have about 25 to 30%, let's say 20 to 30% of the deposit of the value of the house before you be able to access a mortgage. So for example, if let's say a house is valued at £200,000, and the bank would expect that, we are using 25%, so the bank would expect that you have about £50,000 for your deposit, so that you'll be able to mortgage the rest, which is the £150,000. But we all know that in this country it's not easy to just save up £50,000 in the bank just like that. Most young people don't have that kind of money lying around. So this is where the government comes in. So the government decided that, okay, instead of paying a 25% for your deposit, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an equity loan, like a support to your deposit. So basically the government decided to give young people 20%, or not young people, but first time buyers. Basically at first it was also it could also be accessed by second time buyers, but with the current scheme, I think it's normally available for only first time buyers. So what the government does is he'll give you 20% extra as an equity towards your deposit. So let me give you an example. With the £200,000 that I mentioned, we've mentioned that normally the bank would expect that you pay 25%, which is about £50,000. Now what the government is doing right now is the government is loaning you 20% of that £50,000 that you need for your deposit. So now you may need only 5% of your deposit. Now the scheme normally can give you between 5 to 10%. So if you have 10%, you'll be able to still qualify. So it's between 5 and 10%, but that would mean that you only need 5% of the entire value of the house. Um, let's do 5% of 200,000. Let's see how much we would need. So for example, if I wanted a house and the house is 200,000 pounds, 5% is going to be 5% times 200,000, and that means I would only need 10,000. I'll put the calculations in the video, but that means I would need 10,000 pounds for my deposit instead of 50,000 pounds. Now, mind you, the 20% support is not free money; it's only a loan, but then it is supporting your deposit. So in the long run, you end up paying a lot more interest because obviously your deposit is smaller. But it is also a very easier way to get onto the property ladder. So you can, I mean, with 10,000 pounds, it's easier to save. So you're able to, get onto the property ladder easier. That's how the whole Help to Buy equity loan scheme works. The government supports you with about 20, or let's say, 15 to 20% of the equity loan, and then all you need is about 5 to 10% of the deposit. Yes, so that's how it works. The next scheme I'm going to talk about is the shared ownership scheme. Now, this scheme is relatively easier as compared to the first one, the regular Help to Buy equity loan. With the shared ownership, you can actually access the Help to Buy equity loan. However, or let's say on top of that, you are able to purchase a share of the property. So, for example, let's say a house is valued at 200,000 pounds, but you don't have that deposit, that 5% deposit, to pay. That is the 10,000 pounds to pay for the 200,000 valued house. You can decide that, okay, let me purchase 50% of the house. And when that happens, what happens is that basically you will be paying a subsidized rent on the other 50% that you are not going to purchase at that moment. So let's break it down. For the 200,000 pounds house, 50% of that is 100,000 pounds. So that means that 5% of 100,000 pounds is going to be at 5,000 pounds. That means you can actually get onto the property ladder with 5,000 pounds instead of 10,000 pounds, because now you've purchased only a share, only 50% of the value of the house, and then you are also accessing the equity loan scheme. So the equity loan scheme is going to work on that just that 100,000 that you have purchased, and that means that you only need 5% of the 100,000, which is 5,000 pounds. I don't know if I've explained it as simple as possible, but I'll do a separate video to give you the whole maths. We'll try and use a lot of examples to explain the whole thing. Yes, so basically that's how that one works. You purchase a share of the property, and then obviously you are able to also use the Help to Buy equity loan. So maybe instead of paying 5% of 200,000 pounds, you can get 5% of 100,000 pounds, which is only a half of the property, and then you would pay a reduced rent on the other half. Now, a lot of people have issues with this scheme because obviously they don't understand why they have to be paying rent. But personally, I think that if you would be paying, let's say, 600 pounds of all your money in rent, and you can get some of that money into building equity in your house, that is better than paying all your money in rent where you are not getting any of the money at all. So I believe that works. With that one, the good thing is you are able to staircase. Staircasing means that you are able to purchase further shares in the house up to 100% for some of the properties. So that means that anytime you are ready or you have saved enough to purchase the other shares in the house, let's say you already have 50%. So if you want the extra 50%, you can actually purchase it, and I will explain it in a subsequent video when I break the whole thing down. You will be able to understand that. But that's one of the options, and a relatively easier, way to, get onto the property ladder. If you think, especially for those of us that can't keep money on ourselves, some people, £5,000, if they don't use it, they may spend it on something else. So it's better to put it into something and, build some equity into the house. Okay, the last one I'm going to talk about today is the rent to buy scheme. Now, this scheme is actually a lot more easier than the first two that I've mentioned, because as the name goes, you are renting the house with the intention to buy within a certain number of years. So all that means is that, especially for new homes, you are able to, negotiate and say, okay, I don't have the deposit to buy this house at the moment, but what if you rent the house to me at a reduced rent? Normally, you'll be renting the house at 20% below the current market value. So let's say in Manchester, you are renting a house, a new house, two-bedroom house for £750. You are going to be renting it at around £550. That is a very reduced rent. They've taken almost £200 off it. So that's with the intention that you'll be able to save some money and then put into your deposit when you are ready to buy the house. Normally, you can agree with the landlord or the housing association from some even do 6 months. Maybe their deposit is not ready, so some people can just do a 6-month one and save up and then buy the whole thing. Some also are able to do as long as 5 years, and then they can give you a 2 years on top to buy the house. So that one, I think, is also a really good option for a lot of young people, because all you need to do is rent the house like you would be renting any normal house, but then you'll be actually paying a lower rent than everybody else around you. You'll be paying a relatively reduced rent, and then when you are ready with your deposit, you can actually buy the house. So it's another way of actually securing the house. It's a lease purchase option agreement. Yes, and with that one, the thing about it is, at the end of the tenancy, you have to buy the house. So if you don't buy the house, you'll be kicked out. That's the main thing. So because it's a scheme, we don't want people to be just, getting a house at a reduced, the government doesn't want people to, be getting a house at a reduced rent, and then at the end of the day, they just say they won't buy it, and then they'll be renting the house. No. So what happens is, once the term that you agreed is up, you have to be able to put in your deposit and buy the house. If you don't do that, you would be kicked out of the house. So you only have two options: buy it or leave it. So I think that for young people who really, really, really want to get onto, buying their first home, and you really know that and you've made all the plans for it, I think it's a very good option for you guys. Just do that arrangement. When your deposit is up, you just go and say, I've got my deposit, I want to buy the house. You can actually do a shared ownership within the rent to buy option. So that means that once you have a little money, let's say about £4,000, you can say, okay, I have £4,000, my whole deposit is not ready yet, but let me just purchase a share and do that until you acquire the whole house. Okay, I hope I've simplified it enough, but I will be going through these schemes one by one to break it down and give you the maths, give you examples, so that I'll be able to, some of us will be able to, get onto their first home. I'm looking forward to all of us, having our first homes, and, not relying on these landlords, always moving from house to house, some of us getting kicked out and all. Yeah, it's so nice just getting you home. Yeah. All right. Okay, so thank you for watching, guys. If you like this video, just like it for us. If you dislike it, but then give us your thoughts, anything we need to improve on. This is my first time doing like a proper video on my own, talking about this stuff, so I hope I did well. Yeah, so just give a comment and share it for us, And if you have anything that you're expecting, maybe you want clarification on something, just put it in the comment box and we'll be able to come back to it. Thank you guys. Subscribe to the channel, share it to your friends, let your friends subscribe. Yeah, so that we grow together. Thank you.